You're listening to the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast, where we talk about hunting, politics, sports, and everything in between. Now, here's your host, Steve West.
Hey, welcome to episode 4 of the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast. I'm joined here in the studio by Travis Price. Travis Price is a hunting consultant here at our office for Steve's Outdoor Adventures. And every single day of our lives, we actually talk to hunters, like every day. Travis more so than me.
Real. We actually talk to hunters. Yeah.
We actually talk hunting all day long to people, hunting, fishing, adventures. No matter where we go, we're always talking to people about what it is that we do for a living, because everyone wants to talk to us about hunting and fishing. And one of the things that we wanted to chat with everybody today, or I guess talk to each other about, was, spring bear hunting, right? Like, it's right around the corner. This is mid-March. I know that we're getting ready right now.
Yeah.
Like,
the snow's starting to recede.
Not fast enough for me, but it's there, and
not only turkey hunting and some other things, but spring bear is right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, turkey hunting's okay, but if you have a choice on April 15th of going turkey hunting or bear hunting, what are you doing?
I'm picking bear, but I do enjoy turkey hunting, but I will pick bear.
I know you like turkey hunting, but I mean, honestly, like bear hunting, especially if it was like the difference between going turkey hunting or grizzly bear hunting.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Right? There's a lot of people out there who love turkey hunting, and I'm absolutely not hacking on them in any way, shape, or form, but I could never choose turkey hunting over bear hunting.
No.
At any bear hunting.
At any point.
Yeah. I mean, panda bear hunting if I could, anything but turkey hunting. And that, it's that time of year. We're getting ready to go different places. We're talking to people about the trips that are upcoming. Obviously, right now we're still trying to figure out, is the Canadian border going to open or not? But, we made a decision a little bit ago after talking to Scott Ellis and to our partners in Canada to just call it.
Yep.
No spring season.
Have people told straight up that this is what's most likely going to happen. Just make the call and just move forward, and people can plan their lives going forward and not be waiting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, and the reality is that come the 1st of April, if you're an outfitter and you're running, let's say, a baited operation in Saskatchewan, you have to be spending thousands of dollars every week in fuel and supplies baiting.
Yep.
You got to start baiting the first week in April, because at the end of April, you've got customers coming, right? The hunters roll into camp. They can't roll into baits that haven't been baited. You've got to be on established baits starting in early April.
Yep.
Those bears are on a pattern. You've got to be feeding them as soon as they come out of their dens.
Yep.
And there's a lot of work and a lot of expense that goes into that.
Well, it's not just that. It's hiring people, right? You have guides, you have cooks in camp.
You got to take time off their real jobs.
Yep.
Yeah, they're 9-to-5ers.
Yep. I mean, gas, fuel, all kinds of stuff that you have to prepare. Food to feed the hunters. I mean, it's just not, let's just go hunting. It doesn't work that way.
No, there's a tremendous expense that goes into running those bear hunts before the first hunter ever shows up. And so a decision had to be made now, are we going to, hold out to the last second to take a bear hunter? The reality is the answer is no.
No.
I mean, it just wouldn't be fair, because if these guys spent thousands of dollars through the month of April baiting and the spring bear season didn't open in time for the hunters to show up May 1st, it would have been real bad for the outfitters. And it's already been bad enough that they lost the entire 2020 spring and fall seasons.
Yep.
Now they're losing the 2021 spring season. We just got to pray that they get the fall 2021 season in.
Yep. And then we can move forward.
Without a doubt.
And before we go any further, Steve, there's something different about this specific podcast number 4 that I've just got to take a quick time out and just tell you how awesome and unbelievable this table is that we're sitting at today.
I call the table Clark. Right?
Table Clark.
No, I call the table Clark.
Oh, Clark.
Yeah.
This is Clark.
This is Clark. And I'm not talking about like Clark, hey, Clark, the shitter's full. It's not that Clark, This isn't National Lampoon's table.
So what is this then?
So the gentleman that made this, Russell Designs, I told him I really wanted to have a table that reminded me of Lake Clark in Alaska. There's a special community there, Port Allsworth. I've gone there a number of times now over the years. Yep. Lake Clark has a very special bluish green, almost glacial silt color to it.
In Alaska.
Yeah. Port Allsworth, Alaska. And Lake Clark's a special place to me. Mm-hmm. It's a place that I'll go back to a number of times the rest of my life. Even if I never hunted another day, I would go back there. But you look at this, he matched the color, a lot of the shape. I mean, look.
Just the mark,
it's spectacular.
Yeah, marksmanship, whatever you want to call it on this, is just super impressive.
Just sitting at it right now, this being the first podcast we've done sitting at Clark is pretty awesome. And I look at it with a lot of fond memories of Lake Clark, and speaking of spring bear,
Yeah, exactly.
And and those memories, they mean a lot to me. At the end of my hunting career or whatever, it won't be the animals that I've got hanging on the wall that I remember. It'll be the people and the places. And this happens to be one of those really special places to me.
Yeah, very well made. It's awesome.
Yeah, big shout out to all the folks up in Port Allsworth. If you're listening to this podcast, I think of you guys all the time. A lot of people around the world don't know it, but it's a special community, and Lake Clark is special. There are people in the lake from plane crashes and other tragedies that we know, or we know their families, and like I said, it's a very special place to a lot of people, and it's a place that's always in my heart. So
yep. Feel privileged to sit at the table.
Yeah, welcome to Clark.
Welcome to Clark.
Welcome to Clark. Yeah, this is I should just change it to the Clark podcast. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. But going back to the spring bear topic. Now that we've announced this glorious table, and thank you for noticing.
Yeah. How can you not?
Yeah, no joke. So there's 3 types of spring bear hunts out there that you can do. There's a spot and stalk hunting, which like in Montana, British Columbia, places like that, Alaska. Well, Alaska you can hunt over bait too, but Alaska is generally more spot and stalk. You're typically spotting bears on mountainsides, river bottoms, valleys,
shorelines,
wherever they might be, right? And then you're stalking them to get within gun range. That's my favorite type of black bear hunting, right? Another very popular, in fact, probably the most popular method of hunting black bears is hunting over bait.
Yep.
Ground blinds or tree stands, ladder stands or lock-ons, wherever they might be, over an attractant, dog food with grease on it. I mean,
all kinds of stuff.
Pop-Tarts.
Anything sweet.
Anything sweet.
Yeah, Skittles.
Yeah. A lot of expired groceries go into bait barrels.
Yeah.
And then you let the bears, come to you. And for archery hunters, that's definitely the most popular way.
Yep.
But I know a lot of our clients rifle hunt them over bait. And then there's hound hunting for bears.
Yep.
And that's not something that's as popular, but like North Carolina, Idaho, places like that, there's still a tremendous, Utah, I believe, still allows it. There's still a tremendous following of people that is how they want to go bear hunting. Kyle Riley out in Virginia, they love to hound hunt for bears out there. I don't think he'd consider hunting them any other way because, for people that are into dogs and it's not about putting a bear in a tree and just shooting it. It's about watching the dogs work.
Yep.
Listening to the dogs bay. It's something that stays with you. Like I love to hunt mountain lions, and the sound of the dogs hammering away.
Yep. There's a whole element there that's outside of just the hunting. It's watching the dogs work. And
whether you're chasing pheasants with a pointer, or retrieving ducks out of a pond, a Labrador, or Chesapeake Bay Retriever, or chasing lions with hounds or bears, it's about appreciating the dogs and how much work they put in, and things like that. So. A lot of people think, well, they're just murderous hunters that want to throw chase a poor little bear or mountain lion up a tree and murder it. No, that isn't it. It's about the thrill of the chase. And for every one bear or lion that gets killed in a tree, there's probably 5 to 10 that get let loose that are just pursued. And, it's about the dogs. But so spot and stalk, hunting over bait, and then hound hunting for black bears.
Yep.
Those are the 3 ways that we book our clients, and those are the best 3 ways to hunt bears.
And I think just to kind of spin off of that a little bit, in my opinion, you might be asking yourselves if you're watching or listening to the show and if you haven't done a black bear hunt before, even if you have, you're kind of thinking, well, what style might I want to do, or what style might fit me the best? And when I'm talking to people that call Steve's Outdoor Adventures or call me and we're talking about putting together a black bear hunt, if it's new to you, or if you want it to be more controlled, if you have a limited range weapon, the baited hunts, in my opinion, are definitely a way to go. They're super controlled. Everything's coming to you. You're in tight. You get to learn a lot, right? Because one of the hardest things, and I'm sure we'll get to it at some point if we're talking about bears today, is field judging and judging a shooter versus a non-shooter and age and, boar versus sow, and we'll get into that. But when you're in tight, it's easier to become more educated in making the right decision on what that would look like when it's right there and it's closer and you're not just kind of following around the environment and trying to figure it out, right?
Well, there's a whole nother element to that. It's not even just judging the bears. Let's say you are out spot and stalk hunting and you see a good-sized bear in a clearing. You sneak up on it. You get there. You've got a fleeting opportunity maybe to get that shot. You pull the trigger. You kill it. And 30 feet away laying in the weeds was a cub that you couldn't see. Mm-hmm. When you're hunting over bait, the animals come in. You're able to see if a sow's got cubs. You're not in a hurry. You're not rushed. There's
you have more time.
Yeah, you're going to make fewer mistakes, especially if you're an inexperienced bear hunter. You're going to make fewer mistakes when you're hunting over bait like that.
Yep.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but those mistakes are going to be further and farther and fewer between.
Yep.
So,
and the other thing with baited hunts, you're usually in a blind or a stand, and you're stable in your shot platform.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and so you usually have a rest, and you have usually a lot of time or all the time in the world, and you can make a really ethical shot
without a doubt. You know, in places to hunt bears over bait that we book our clients are like Alberta. You know, got good folks up in Alberta. Kyler and the boys, they kick ass. Saskatchewan's our big one, though. Yeah. I mean, we do a lot of business in Saskatchewan. There's a lot of bears. I mean, a lot of bears. And I was thinking about this the other day. Have we ever had a client go up there and not get a bear?
Man, I'd have to think real hard about it.
I don't think it happened.
Maybe one that got away with wounded, but maybe I'd be scratching.
It would be a wound loss if it was.
Yeah, but the reality is I don't know either.
Yeah, but I mean, so Alberta and Saskatchewan, that's our bread and butter, right? For baited black bear hunts. Well, with the Canadian border closed, we started working with one of our partners in Wyoming. He's got a wonderful backcountry area.
Yep.
Super stoked for your hunt coming up there.
Yep.
Travis is going to go up and open up some new camps with one of our partners. And we're going to start offering Wyoming baited bear hunts. Now, these are going to be a little bit different. I'm assuming he's going to set these baits up with you so you're shooting like 100 yards or
150 yards, kind of ideally across canyon.
Yeah.
Right, so you can see the bears approaching, not being super tight. And those bears are very wary because I was talking to our partner out there actually this morning about it and kind of getting a game plan together. And those bears know if you're in tight and they come back in, they have them on camera, you know, and they're looking exactly where you were if you're in too tight. And so we want to get back a little bit, 100, 150 yards, and being able to, not get busted by the bears and be able to watch them in and get a clean, ethical shot. And it's going to be good, shooting across canyons, but not too far, that kind of thing. Right
on. We're going to have to put that bear hammer ammo in your hands this year. But
that 200 grain, A-frame.
Slammer. So, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Wyoming. Once again, Idaho is a good place to go, but really for us, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Wyoming for baited bear hunts. And I know that we're looking forward to things getting back to normal in Canada and of course, with the Wyoming offerings, I'm real excited about that. Mm-hmm. Judging bears at a bait site, I mean, you brought that up. We were talking about controlled environments, stuff like that. Hunting over bait allows you to run trail cameras.
Yep.
You got a good idea. Bears are creatures of habit. If a big bear is hitting a bait, you're going to know it. You're going to be able to see them on the trail cameras. You're going to know about what, they always come late afternoon, evening usually anyway, unless there's some funky
most all the actions
cycle.
At night or in the late afternoons.
Yeah, but it gives you an idea of what's coming into that bait and what to hold out for. But let's say you've got a bait barrel. You're talking about judging bears. Everybody says, little ears on the side of the head, things of that nature. But if you have a 50-gallon drum there and a bear walks up to it, you now have something significant to judge that bear off of.
Yep.
Before you've gone in your stand, you've walked up to this barrel. You know how big the barrel is. And when a bear walks up and sits next to it, you have that measuring tool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a measuring stick.
And there's several other ones that can be used, but the barrel is a big one. And it's usually secured where it's not going to move around for the most part. And so that's a very good judging. But you can have sticks laying down to judge length.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, things that they reach up to, there's all kinds of things you can do.
Yeah, if you can reach that beaver hanging up there in Saskatchewan, that's a dandy,
Yep. Some of those bears might tight walk those ropes. I've seen that too.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, I've seen a small boar, like a 2-year-old boar that was just a chunk. And at 200 yards, I would have swore that he was a giant bear because he had itty-bitty ears on the side of his head.
Well, lots of fur, right?
Oh, he was just all fur-balled up and everything else. We closed the distance, got up close, and I thought, wait a minute, is this a pygmy? He's just a, like itty-bitty,
He's like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, God, thank God we didn't shoot him at 200 yards. I'd have been really disgusted with myself. He wasn't a cub, but he was a dink, and and he had many years left to grow. Hunting over bait, you wouldn't make that mistake, or you shouldn't make that mistake.
Yep.
Spot and stock, you could, and that's where it pays to be seasoned, close the distance, get as close as you can, get as close a look as you possibly can, and judge the animal.
Yep. And I always say, to anyone I'm talking to about black bear hunts, whether it's your first one or you've done 100 of them, is the hardest thing about hunting black bears is judging what you want to shoot and what's a shooter and what's not, and sows versus boars and all that. It's tough. You can do it for many hunts in a row and still not feel like you're really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
You want to talk about some things to look for? Or?
So whether I'm hunting over bait or if I'm spot and stock hunting, I'm going to be looking for different things in a bear, right?
Yep.
But the first thing I always look for, especially in the spring, is hide quality. I want to know if this bear's been rubbing, especially if I'm in late May, early June. A lot of those bears come out of the high country and they're not rubbed, but you need to look at them. Even in April, you need to look at a bear, see if he didn't pop out early and start rubbing. It doesn't take much to scratch a bunch of hair off a bear.
Yep.
So I look for the rubs. I always look for like that big saggy belly, that big bear kind of feel. And as always, little ears on the side of the head. Now, I've always said it. When a big bear shows up or when you spot a big bear, it's a no-brainer. It's a big bear.
Yep. And
if you're trying to make a bear big, he's probably not
as big as you think.
Yeah. If you're having to play imaginary things, like looking at a bear going, I think he might be. If you think he might not be big enough, he probably isn't.
Yeah.
So, it's once again hair quality, big old saggy belly, big chest.
Yep.
And then that the little ears on the side of the head. The other thing I look for also, like females tend to have that little narrow snout,
Yep.
and the boars have that big,
Yep.
big long.
Yep. I first start at the head, looking for a block squared head, shorter muzzle, small ears on the side of its head, like you said. And usually, and it's not, absolute, but usually the bigger boars will have like a crease or like a Y-looking crease in the middle of their forehead. The more pronounced that is, usually the bigger the bear, or more mature it is, and usually more prominent on boars. Shorter legs, that is, when you said big belly, that kind of thing. Short legs.
Bellies hide the long legs. The long legs just get absorbed in fat rolls.
Yep. And that fox-looking face is definitely more sow, the fox-looking face versus a big blockhead. And then the other thing I look for is actually not a physical characteristic. It's more of like behavior. The bigger boars, when they come in, usually if there's any other bears around, they don't want any part of this big daddy coming in.
Or they'll leave if they start looking.
Saying.
Yeah, they start looking.
Getting nervous. Yeah. Fuck this, I'm out of here. No good.
No.
Yeah. And if that happens, you better be paying attention because the big boy's about to come in. Or he's like close by and they're just getting nervous. And
well, they know when the big ones are around. When Billy Badass is in the neighborhood, they'll know. They'll tell you that he's out there somewhere. Yeah. Kind of happens with deer too. You see that with the deer.
Mm-hmm. So behavior and physical characteristics. Gotcha. The other thing, if you're trophy hunting, and I don't know the exact stats on this, but I've been told by a lot of black bear guides, and I know it to be true on several hunts that I've done, that it's one of the harder big game animals in North America to get into the record books, believe it or not.
It is.
Yeah.
A 21-inch skull,
Yep.
and I have one out of all the bears I've shot, and that's still amazing. To beat the 1 in a million odds. I've got one that's big enough to go in the all-time book. But, I would agree.
Yeah.
Black bears, mule deer, you're talking 21-inch skull. If you kill a bear with a 21-inch skull, you've done a 1 in a million. And a 20-inch skull is the 3-year book, the awards book.
Yep.
And a 20-inch skull, if you ever kill a bear with a 20-inch skull, you've truly done something. Because those bears are rare,
Yep. And when I did that northern Alberta hunt a couple years ago on that baited hunt, that was awesome. I took a really nice bear there, and the guide told me, word for word, he was almost guaranteeing that bear is going to be booked over 20. Right, and ended up being like 19 and 3/8. And what happens there is they call them meatheads, right?
Yeah.
It looks like a giant skull, but it's not. Well, it could have like a lot of meat in here, and it just.
Yeah, when Bob Milligan and I were talking about that bear when I shot the grizzly, the big grizz.
Yep.
When we made the move on him, we were like, we both knew.
Yeah, he's big.
We knew he was big. Well, the reality was that if he wasn't a meathead, we knew he was the muzzleloader record, right? He was that big. And that was a comment we made, and I think I've even got on film when I picked up his head. He goes, "As long as he isn't a meathead, you got the record with that one."
So, you knew it.
Yeah,
and no meathead there.
There was no meathead. It was a bonehead.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
yeah,
we need
like 21-inch skull, like for a black bear, is really hard to find.
Oh yeah, needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
Hey, we need to take a quick break. We need to hear from our sponsors real quick. When we be coming right back, we're going to keep discussing bear hunting, and we're going to start talking about some guns and the weapons that we expect people to be taking on some of these trips and what we suggest for archery equipment and other stuff. So we'll be right back with more from the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast.
This segment of the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast is sponsored by Bergara Rifles, where the people truly make the difference.
Hey everybody, we're back here from the short commercial break, and you got to hear from those sponsors every now and then.
Yep.
They're what make this show possible.
Back at Clark.
Yeah, we're back here at Clark, and we're talking about bear hunting, and we've talked about hunting over bait, hunting spot and stock, things of that nature, and one of the biggest questions I get asked, I got asked this question earlier today by a client, what rifle should he take on a hunt? And he's actually a guy that's going to go on a baited black bear hunt this year.
Yep.
He's booked to go on a baited hunt. And I just asked him, I said, what do you own? That was the first question. He's like, I have a 7mm 08, I have a 308, I have a 30-06. And I was like, well, I would take your 30-06, got a little bit more whop to it. It's the most powerful caliber you have. And I would load it with the 200 grain Swift A-frames. We call it the bear hammer.
ammo.
Yeah, bear hammer, at Pendleton Ammunition. And, and he asked me why. I was like, well, it's a controlled expansion bullet. It's meant to mushroom and hit hard, and you can blow it through both his shoulders.
Yep.
On a baited hunt, you're 30 to 50 yards away probably. I mean, you could set your rifles hunters up out to 100 yards. It wouldn't matter.
Yep.
That bullet will punch those shoulders, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to mushroom and kill them. A Barnes TSX, I told him 200 grain Barnes TSX would be good. The 180 grain bullets will get it done, but if you're asking me for the ultimate, I'm going to tell you to go with the 200s and hit them hard.
Yep.
If he'd had a 300 Win Mag, I'd have probably told him to take 300 Win Mag. When I'm bear hunting, I want horsepower, but more important than that, I want shot placement with a controlled expansion bullet.
Yep.
If someone tells me they don't own anything bigger than a 270, that's fine. 270 with 150 grain controlled expansion, hard-hitting bullet, put it through the front shoulders and kill that bear dead, especially over bait.
Yep.
You're short range. That bear's going to eat all the energy that gun's got.
And the reality is one thing I was going to mention earlier of what I like or what's different about hunting, bears in general versus, say, antlered or game with horns is that there's an element that you are now hunting another predator, right? And a dangerous, and really the black bear or grizz, they're a dangerous game. And so if something goes wrong, it's always kind of in the back of your mind that you could be getting yourself into a problem that you don't want to. And what you're talking about for me is no guides or hunters want to be tracking down, a wounded bear. That's no good.
No. And that's why I tell everybody, shoot them in the front shoulders.
Yep.
If you bust their front shoulders, you're probably going to drop them. But if you don't, they're not going to go far. And if they do go back in their ways, they're not going to have their front arms to be swinging. They're going to be broke down. They're going to be far less deadly. They're not going to be able to charge on you as hard. Yep. I'm not saying they can't, but that's the shot placement for me is front shoulders. Yep. I love breaking shoulders on bears. The other thing you get with those broken shoulders, you typically get to at least roll them. And I always tell everybody the same thing, whether you're hunting black bears or grizzly bears, pull the trigger, cycle in the next shell, get ready to shoot.
Yep.
I mean, don't boom and then watch in awe as it runs off. Cycle around, hit him again.
Get ready, stay in the scope.
I just hit him again.
Yep.
I mean, taxidermists have lots of needles and thread.
They'll
fix all those holes. Just keep cycling rounds into that bear. If he's moving, you're shooting, get him dead.
Yep.
Because there's nothing that you want, at all. You want nothing to do with a wounded bear in the brush.
Nope, no good
at all. And if you're on a grizzly bear hunt, just expect that if that bear's still twitching after you hit him a couple of times, expect your guide to chime in with something big.
Yep.
Because he is really not wanting to follow that bear into the brush.
No, not at all.
No.
And when I look back at the black bear hunts I've done through Steve's Outdoor Adventures and I'm kind of partial because I've used that 200 grain A-frame through the 300 Win Mag, but and when I think back of the bears that I've taken, I don't think any of them have gone more than 15 yards or have just dropped in place with that bear hammer ammo.
They're blowing blood bubbles out their nose when you hit them with those. Yep. The bear hammer ammo we made it specifically to hit hard. And today I was at the range working on kind of the new powder conversions and trying to get a little bit more juice out of that 300 Win Mag.
Mm-hmm.
300 Win
with
Mag.
That bullet?
Yeah, 300 Win Mag, 200 grain Swift A-frames. I was pushing right at 2,900 feet per second. Dude, that's a
lot of energy.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah, I'm going to tighten that one up tomorrow. So Pendleton ammo is going to have just a touch. It's even going to get a little better for you. You know?
Can't wait to use it again this spring.
Another thing I like to tell everybody is this: when you go on a baited bear hunt, you know, especially if you have a rifle, don't take binoculars. Don't. If a bear comes in, look at him in your scope, and don't be that guy that shows up for a hunt at 30 to 75 yards with a 5 to 25 Texas Hill Country super tall turret scope. Make sure you've got like a 1 to 5, a 2 to 10, a 3 to 9 at most in my book. I know you've taken the Eliminator with the 4 to 16. To me, that's the top end of the scope you want. I mean, you took that one because you get the lit aiming point. In low light, that's real nice. Yeah.
Especially low light with a black target, right?
Yeah, totally. But I like low magnification. I like to keep that magnification down because if that bear ends up at 15 or 20 yards, if you have a 5-6, minimum magnification range on your scope, what are you shooting at? You're just shooting at hair somewhere, and that's not good. You could hit that bear anywhere, and that's just not good at all.
Yep. So. I just thought of something that I wanted to make sure I talked about or brought up today, and it can be for spot and stock hunts. I mean, it can be for any black bear hunts, but basically ones that we book is what I noticed, especially on some guys or gals that go on these hunts that maybe haven't done a lot of black bear hunts, is they have a tendency to shoot something very early in the hunt that if they had a little more patience and let some bears come in, or, ask some more questions with the guides when they come back at night and make sure, that they could have a better quality of hunt or possibly get even a more mature bear.
Oh yeah. I mean, patience.
Yeah.
Patience is always the name of the game. There's no sense being in a hurry. Like you said, you've got a controlled environment, right? You've got bears coming to you. It's easy to get excited and pull the trigger. And let's face it, if you shoot a nice bear on the first night of your hunt, no problem, as long as you're happy with it.
Exactly.
But my advice has always been to people, be patient. See what's out there. Talk to your guide. See what's on the trail cameras.
Yep.
The guides are running trail cameras. They'll tell you, hey, there's 5 or 6 different bears using this bait. Look for this great big one. He's got a white blaze on his chest or something. Talk to your guide. Have open communication with your guide. He'll tell you what's coming or going.
Yep.
And just be patient and enjoy it. Remember, if you tag something on the first night, you're not going to get to spend 2, 3, 4 more nights sitting in there watching bears come in.
Yeah.
Seeing them walk around. You're tagged out and done at that point in time.
Yeah. And one thing that I really enjoy about hunting in general is just the connection to nature. And on these hunts, as you're talking, or I'm thinking, one thing that just keeps coming back to me is, and I don't want to use the word entertainment because that's devaluing what's happening there, because it's
but it is entertaining to watch those bears come in and roll around.
And just their behavior and what you witness. I remember, Raymond, one of our camera guys, and I were in a baited hunt in Saskatchewan, and after it, he looks at me and goes, "We have like National Geographic footage for like hours."
Yeah. I
mean, just what we were witnessing, from cubs to fights to stealing food, or just like it's so cool what you get to connect, through nature, with nature, on watching what these bears behave like. It's awesome.
Have you had a bear come up the tree with you yet?
I have.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's just it. You get to, like you say, connect with nature. But once again, on the first night of the hunt, if you shoot a bear, it's just a good bear, then you're not out there to have a bear climb up a tree with you
and experience more stuff.
Yeah, or come up and peek through the side of your ground blind or whatever it might be. I mean, it's a great opportunity to get close to wildlife and connect with the animals. And, and to me, that's a big part of the hunt.
I agree.
We have a lot of clients also that archery hunt, and over bait, that is, the number one, I would say. I mean, we have some spot and stock archery guys, but the reality is that a lot of hunters now want to take their archery equipment north. It's easier to travel into Canada with archery equipment. You have to get a gun permit and all that stuff. One of the things I like to talk to people about is what they're taking for equipment. A bear hide is thick. A bear has bigger muscle structure, and their bone mass is bigger and things of that nature. I'm not saying your average whitetail rig isn't good enough, but if I'm bear hunting, I want a little bit heavier arrow.
Beef it up a bit.
Oh yeah. I want to be shooting a heavier arrow and
fixed broadhead.
I'll tell you what, I know there's a whole bunch of expendable broadhead people out there that are going to cringe when I say this, but I've never been a big fan of them.
Yeah.
I know that they're better now than they were years back when they first came out on the market. I absolutely hated them. I know they're performing better now. There's a lot of people that swear by them, so I'm not going to condemn them to the bottom of the pit anymore. But what I will say is this: fixed blade broadheads don't fail to open. they tend to perform better if you smash a bone by accident, things of that nature. I started using like the Montex myself.
Yeah, I've used the G5s.
Yeah. Another great. I mean, just fixed blade broadheads are hard to beat in my opinion. And as long as you feel confident in your equipment and you feel like when you hit that bear, that big, thick, furry hide, you're not going to have this thing prematurely open up or fail to penetrate right. And just think about it before you show up, because I know that other people have had some issues with archery hunters showing up with like super light arrows, small expandables, and they don't get the penetration they need.
Yep.
Get an arrow that goes in 3-4 inches, even at 30 yards. They're used to passing through little white-tailed deer, and all of a sudden they got a big old 400-pound black bear in front of them.
Yep.
And it's like whack. And I remember years ago, and I think it was Ted Nugent that was explaining this to me. He said, shoot a box of sand with a light, fast arrow and expandable broadhead.
And see what happens.
Yeah, he said, and then shoot a big, heavy arrow with a fixed blade broadhead into the same box of sand and see which one goes in furthest and which one has the most kinetic energy.
Yep. And
it's a fixed blade, heavy broadhead. You don't need speed to kill a bear. A bear isn't going to jump the string. It's not a white-tailed deer. A big, heavy, slow arrow will go all the way through a bear. Yep. I like big, heavy stuff. I want things that are going to hit hard. And while I say that rifle hunters should shoot bears right in the shoulders, of course, archery hunters should not. Yeah, I personally think an archery hunter's best shot is to wait till you get that quartering away. I like quartering away. I want to aim for the opposite shoulder. Yeah, right into that opposite shoulder.
Get lung.
Yeah, I want those lungs. I want the vitals. And, if you don't get the quartering away, tuck it in tight behind the shoulder and send it all the way through. You'll kill them still. So, but a quartering away, aim for the opposite shoulder is kind of ideal for me. Yep.
So. There's also, muzzleloader hunters.
Oh.
Yeah, crossbow in some cases.
Oh, man, crossbows. And most of your crossbow guys, it seems like they're shooting the expandables. But, good Lord, they're sending even a heavy arrow now is 375 to 400 feet per second.
Sometimes more, yeah.
They're smoking them out there. So, so the crossbow hunters are in there. Muzzleloader hunters, I'll tell you what, they may have the most deadly combination of powder and bullet. You can shoot a 405 grain power belt copper bullet at, I don't know what the speed would be, but it's got to be 1,800 feet per second. Yeah, just stuff that with 150 grains of powder and lay one out.
Done.
Hammer down, Talking about hunting with the muzzleloader, my very first bear with a muzzleloader was actually in southeast British Columbia out in your old stopping grounds, the Kootenays. And, I was loaded with a round I wouldn't carry now for bear. I knew that I would need to shoot 150, 200 yards, so I didn't go with the 405s. That's the bullet I killed the grizzly with, I really want something that's faster and flatter shooting, and so I was shooting these 250 grain power belt bullets, and I had 150 grain powder charge behind them. They were fast and flat, and I killed that bear deader than a doornail. I thought. I smoked him. He dropped like a pile of rocks.
Felt good about the shot?
I felt great about the shot. Got up there, and he's still alive. I had to pop him again. And that's why I say I would probably shoot a different bull now. The bullet went in. He was dead for all intents and purposes, but I think the 270 grain power belt platinum bullet is a better bullet than the one that I was shooting. Which was the Aerolite. The Aerolite's a great deer bullet, but the platinum is a better bear bullet for sure. In hunting for spot and stalk, which we'll get into after this next break, you want to have faster and flatter shooting. So with muzzleloaders, I'm always cautious as to what I'm advising someone to take. If you're hunting over bait 405s, I love those 405s, big heavies. And if you're hunting spot and stalk, I think the 270 grain Aerolites with a nice big powder charge and flatter shooting. So
cool.
Well, now that we've covered bows and muzzleloaders and rifles, crossbows, it works.
Bear hammer ammo.
Bear hammer. Don't forget the slingshot. We definitely need to take another break. We got to hear from another one of our sponsors. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk about spot and stalk hunting and the different places that we've experienced some of the best spot and stalk hunting in North America.
This segment of the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast is sponsored by Burris Optics. Find what matters.
Hey, we're back from that short commercial break here at the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast. We're talking about black bear hunting. So far, we've talked about hunting over bait. We've talked about all the different styles of hunting. We've talked about the weapons that we use and the weapons that we recommend that our clients use.
Judging bears.
Judging bears, but now we need to talk about spot and stalk hunting. Now, this is my personal wheelhouse, right? This is my favorite. I don't have the patience to ever bait, but I love to spot and stalk hunt. And, for black bears, we're hunting spot and stalk in Alaska and British Columbia. Yeah. That's that. We have other places we can hunt, by spot and stalk, but the reality is those are the two biggies.
Yep.
Now you're getting into big coastal bears or the coastal mountain ranges. Some of the biggest bears in North America are taken out of British Columbia.
Yeah. Big genetics.
Yeah.
Good food sources.
Oh, well, especially like coastal Alaska, coastal British Columbia, they're eating salmon in the summer and fall. And these are things that contribute to big damn bears, right?
Yep.
And, there's different ways to hunt by spot and stalk. Let's start with Alaska. Now, we have mountain hunts for black bears that we can put together. A lot of guys don't choose those. Typically, if someone hunts a black bear in Alaska, they're on a grizzly hunt in the spring or fall, and they happen upon a black bear, and they have a tag.
Just an extra tag in their pocket kind of thing, yeah.
Totally. It's not that I wouldn't recommend doing them. It's just not for everybody. Mm-hmm. But when you go, and not only that, it's because you don't have big black bear densities in places. There's places you can hunt over bait in coastal regions, and you're going to see a lot of bears. But my favorite way to hunt in Alaska is by boat. Take the boat out, get offshore, anchor up. You can glass miles of shoreline, jump in skiffs, cruise the shorelines, look for lots of bears.
Yep.
In the springtime, the bears come to shore, right? Back in the timber, the grass hasn't greened up yet. The sun hasn't got in there, and they're eating grass. They're eating we've always called it sedge grass. But they also walk the shorelines rolling rocks. There's little crab that live underneath the rocks. There's dead fish that wash up on shore.
Bugs, all kind of stuff.
Oh, man. But, I mean, when you look at like a coastline in Alaska, it's a smorgasbord of dead shit rolling up on shore all the time. And bears love to eat it. Like, they'll lick it. They'll get maggots off of something. I mean,
the scavengers, right?
Bears are disgusting animals. But anyway, they have a very open palate. And, so when you're talking about black bear hunting in coastal Alaska, to me, we're talking about going out on the boat because you see a lot of bears. You're generally going to be successful.
Yep.
We do some archery, but for the most part, most guys are going with a rifle.
Yep.
These are bears that have big, fat rolls on them. I mean, I really like a 30 caliber bigger bullet on those bears.
I think what's really special about that specific hunt is you also get the maritime experience as well as the black bear hunting, right? There could be some fishing opportunities. So you have this beautiful scenery. You're in Alaska. You're on a boat.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool.
Well, you're going to see killer whales and humpies, and you're going to see, seals, sea lions and everything out there. I mean, the maritime experience is far more than what you're hunting. It's just a lot more than what you're hunting. It's an all-around experience. And, and on a spring trip, you might get to come home with a 50-pound box of halibut and some other bottom fish. You might get to come home with a 7-foot black bear. You might get a Boone and Crockett skull up there. It's going to be more, the closer you get to coastal areas, typically the bigger the skulls are going to be just genetically.
Yep.
But yeah, you get that all around experience. When we talk about hunting big bears, to me, and I know that we have a special client named Susan in North Carolina that swears to God the biggest black bears in North America are in North Carolina. And I'm going to find out this year is I'm going to go out there and do a hunt, and we're going to film it and bring it to the Steve's Outdoor Adventure television series. And I'll be able to report back on this podcast when I get back if the biggest bears in North America are really in North Carolina. But coastal British Columbia, at one time, I always thought the Queen Charlottes were the best. Mm-hmm. I mean, I killed a tank of a bear in the Charlottes.
Yep. Which is now called something else, I believe.
Haida Gwaii.
Yep.
And there's no hunting there now. The Haida bought the hunting concession on the Queen Charlottes and
shut it down. Yep.
They no longer bear hunt there, which to me is stupid, but I guess that's their sacred thing.
Yep.
Whatever spins their wheel. But when you go to the coastal area, we book a lot of hunters to coastal BC, cruising logging roads. Yep. Oh, man.
And one thing I get a lot of feedback from clients that do that is the amount of ground they cover, which translates into the number of bears they see, can be a lot. Yep. Yeah,
a lot of bears to be, unless it's a super hot spring where you've got daytime highs in the 80s, 85s, yep. As long as you've got your standard, 50, 60 degree spring days, your evenings are spent looking at a ton of bears.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can be selective, like we talked earlier about.
The guides are, patience. Well, that's the difference. When you're sitting over bait, you're alone. When you're on a spot and stock hunt with your guide in British Columbia, your guide is with you.
Yep.
And your guide is going to tell you, this is a big bear,
we need
or
to
this is
get
not
on
a big
it.
bear.
Yep.
Yeah, shoot this bear. If your guide tells you, shoot this bear, you should probably get excited.
Yep. And those hunts are fun, right? It's good accommodations, good food.
Yeah.
It's just a good time. It's relaxed and
very gentlemanly.
Yep. Not overly difficult physically.
You're not getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to beat something to the dark timber. You're literally waking up mid-morning because you're getting in at 11. You're eating 11 to midnight and going to bed. I mean, you're sleeping till 9 or 10 o'clock and rolling out, eating some lunch, whatever. You know, you're just relaxing and enjoying yourself. And then you're going out for the evening hunt. It's a very gentlemanly type. I'm not saying it's not out there for the ladies. You know, it's always been that style of hunt, those gentleman style hunt. Yeah. So,
but yeah, your schedule will completely change on black bear hunts. You're up late, and if you like in skinning sheds or if you kill a bear, it's not uncommon to be up until 2 a.m. and then you're sleeping until 10 in the morning. And
the guides really have it rough. Yeah, big time. And I remember one time I woke up and a guide in British Columbia by the name of Blair, I went out to this, I just happened to look out there. It was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. He was out there salting hides. You know, he's busting his butt in the middle of the night, you know, to get these hides salted to preserve the trophies.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, the coastal BC, to me, coastal BC is probably our best trophy bear hunt right now.
Yep.
And it's not, I mean, that one year we averaged 7-foot bears and we take every year,
knock on Clark,
we get 4 or 5 20-inch skulls a year.
Yep.
I mean, it's that is the big skull area for us.
Yep.
So, you know, and it's a hunt anybody can enjoy. Realistically, both the boat-based hunt in Alaska and the vehicle-based coastal hunt in British Columbia are both hunts that anyone of any physical capabilities can enjoy.
Yep. I agree.
I believe that.
There's also the horseback wilderness, you know, backcountry style too, spot and stock.
Yeah.
That's really, really fun. If you want that ultimate adventure and challenge yourself a little more physically and get that horseback experience and beautiful terrain, we also offer those.
You know, that trip, when I filmed that with Rick Kruger, and I talked about that in our podcast, Rick had never got a bear before, and then when he got that bear, I mean, there's only some areas where you can do that hunt reliably. That area's got a lot of bears.
Yep.
They get in those slides in the spring, and I've always enjoyed that hunt. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're an adventure hunter, if you're someone who wants to go out and experience kick-ass, you know, beautiful terrain. Traditional backcountry hunting experience. I mean, and I'm glad you brought that up because that had slipped my mind, and I'm ashamed that it did because that is a spectacular place to go bear hunting and a great way to just be out there connecting with nature. You're going to see grizzlies and eagles and elk and moose. And
I tell people when I talk to them about this hunt that call in, I tell them it's worth the price of admission just to go do the hunt, even if you don't kill a bear. It's that much of a cool experience.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So, you know, one last thing I really wanted to chat about, especially in the spot and stock arena, is, you know, most of our spot and stock hunters are going to be rifle hunters. Because you've got to be prepared to shoot 1, 2, maybe even 300 yards. I mean, we've had guys shoot bears at longer distances, like up in BC. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of, you know, once again, always controlled expansion bullets. But I get asked a lot, like, what's the favorite caliber to take? I mean, and the reality is that your standard 30-06 will get it done. 300 Win Mag's my favorite.
I agree.
I'm getting pretty hot on this 300 PRC. Mm-hmm. That's fast, flat, and heavy. A 7 Mag will get it done on black bears, no doubt about it. And, you know, if as long as you can hit the animal and you've got a 7 Mag, 300 Win Mag, 30-06, I still think a 270 is a little light for spring bear, in my opinion. But if that's all you've got, take it and use it. But use a 150 grain, like controlled expansion, like
some guides will say that's about the minimum, or above.
I know a lot of guides that will definitely draw the line at a 270, but a 30 caliber is more preferred. But I mean, if you're going on the horseback hunt, make sure once again that you don't show up with some 26-inch barrel Texas Hill Country, you know, 5 to 25 with a 3-inch turret on top of it because it isn't going to fit in the scabbard. You know, choose a rifle that is applicable to the hunt you're going on. if you're spot and stock hunting, you got to have a rifle that's light enough to sling across your back, and we're putting your arrow stock back and climb hills and do all stuff, or slide in a scabbard. If you're hunting over bait, you can show up with a cannon if you want to, but once again, I think short, fast, and compact is easier.
I agree.
And make sure your scope is relative. But, I know you're big on the 300 Win Mag. You like that.
I love it.
Yeah,
but I'm partial.
You are. You've counted a lot of coup with it.
Yeah.
I've started hunting more with the 300 PRC. I like that Highlander rifle. That's what we're going to hunt with this year is the Highlanders.
Yep. Cool.
I like that Premier Series Highlander rifle. That Bergara brand is hot right now. It's damned accurate.
Yep.
And, of course, all of our ammunition's developed in the Bergaras. So
we know it performs.
Well, yeah, we know exactly where it's going to hit when we send it out. So, but yeah, I once again, I like for this year, if I get to go, spring bear hunting, I've got the 300 PRC with a 3.3 to 18 XTR3 34 millimeter tube. Why? Low light, lots of light collection. I feel confident. I mean, I shot a deer last year with that rifle at 600 yards, and it was a Columbia blacktail that was about the size of a Labrador.
Yeah.
And
small target.
I'm totally confident with that gun. I'll send it at any moment, but on a bear, I want to be closer. Lots of energy. John's hunting with a 300 Win Mag in the Highlander. Yep. He's shooting those 180 grain TTSXs. If he gets to go bear, like when he goes after his bear, he's going to be shooting bear hammer 200s.
200s, yeah.
Yeah. And, and then like I said, we're going to set you up with the Eliminator. I was going to put the Eliminator 4 on that Highlander this year because I know you're big on the Eliminators like I am.
Yep.
Get you something.
Get spoiled.
Oh man, yeah, nothing like.
It's hard to get away from them.
Well, you just hit the button; it gives you the range and an aiming point, and you send it regardless of distance. You just pick and go. So you get your lead aiming point. To me, that is the ultimate hunting scope. And my other Highlander will have an Eliminator 4 on it because I want to hunt with one a lot more this year. For you, I guess, if you had your druthers, would it always be the 300 Win Mag for you?
If I had the choice, my answer would probably be yes. Although I will add the caveat that I'm like when I played softball, right? Like when I was younger and was not just pitching, but was also hitting at the time, I would be someone that would stick with one bat once I found one and just get to love and know and just become one with that tool, right? So I'm more of a guy who would, once I find something, I want to stick with it and really get to know it and not have to think about anything and not have to learn anything else because I love it. I know it performs. But for what I do in this industry, it's going to behoove me to go after and use other equipment that I know that. And I am definitely more than willing to go in out of that spectrum. But I am very partial to 300 Win Mags.
Well, and especially with bear hunting, it's big. Yeah. It's got lots of energy. It's going to hit hard, and it's going to knock something on its ass.
Yep, so, no doubt.
I'll tell you what, we got to take one more break here. When we come back, we're going to discuss spring versus fall hunting because we get asked that question a lot.
All the time.
All the time. And it's a pretty simple answer for me every single time. So we'll be right back from this short commercial break.
This segment of the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast is sponsored by Marathon Seat Covers. We've got you covered.
All right, we're back here at the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast. We're talking about black bear hunting. We've covered a lot of the topics and questions that we get asked at Steve's Outdoor Adventures all the time. And to wrap the show up, there's a couple of big questions that we get asked that we save for last. And the first and foremost question that always comes to mind for me is everybody wants to know, should they hunt the spring or the fall?
Oh, yep.
Yeah. And my answer every single time is this: hunt the damn spring.
Yep.
The bears are more active then. Big bears are nocturnal in the fall. They're nocturnal enough in the spring.
Yep.
But in the fall, they're super nocturnal. Unless you're on a salmon stream hunt in Alaska, the fall hunts are not worth doing to me. I'm not booking people on baited bear hunts in the fall because you've got natural food sources, you've got acorns, berries, and all that other stuff.
What I was just going to say is bears are always in search of food. I mean, that's just what they do.
Yeah.
And so when they come out of hibernation in some places, they're just a little bit easier to track and pattern and understand when they're going to certain food sources. I think it's more narrow and they're more focused in the spring. And it's just easier to... It's
a lot. Well, and once again, big boars, the ones that hunters are targeting, are more active in the springtime.
Yep.
You're gonna
cooler weather.
Yeah. I mean, just no matter what, you're always going to, and then the response back from everybody is, yeah, but aren't they bigger in the fall?
Yeah. They're heavier.
Yeah. They just got belly fat. That's it. They've just got belly fat. It doesn't make them a bigger bear, in my opinion. Their skull isn't any bigger.
Yep.
One thing about the fall, early spring and any time in the fall, you've always got a full coat, right? You don't have the rubs and stuff like that. So if there was one upside, but really there's a reason why 99.9% of the time we push people to book their fall hunts spring hunts is exactly that. The fall hunts are just not nearly as successful. The bear hunting you're going to kill more immature bears because they're less nocturnal.
Yep.
You're going to kill a lot fewer bigger boars because they are moving primarily at night.
And here's the other thing. It gives you something to do during the off season, which is the spring, right?
Why would you mess with your antler
why
game
put them
season?
Together if you don't have to?
Mess with elk season.
Yeah,
That's all I've got to say. Now, if you can buy a black bear tag while you're on an elk hunt or a moose hunt or something else, awesome.
Yep.
Hunt them incidental to something else. That way, if you don't get one, you're only out the cost of the tag.
And here's the other reality is in the fall, if you're looking to do a guided hunt, most all outfitters, especially in bear areas, are guiding other things. And to your point, it's have an extra tag in your pocket rather than a focused hunt. And they're also doing those hunts in the spring. Why not take advantage of that time frame and be able to hunt other things in the fall? Yeah.
Now, if you're at home, like here in Oregon, Northeast Oregon, we've got a great fall bear season. It opens August 1st. And if there's nothing else going on and you can access the mountains and go back black bear hunting, go hit the blueberry patches.
Yep.
Go see what you can find. I mean, I'm not saying don't go bear hunting in the fall. But if you're calling me to spend money on a guided hunting trip, I'm going to advise you to go when your odds are the highest, your chances of success are the highest on the best possible bears. Yep. And that's every single time going to be the spring.
I agree, 100%.
So, all right.
And then So I also get asked a lot about, the meat on a bear hunt and, do you eat it? Do you take it with you? Like what happens with all of that? And, and everybody has a different palate and different taste for all kinds of big game.
It's relative. So, it's relative to where you get the bear.
Well, that too, and what they're eating.
Totally.
And so I've had bear meat and I actually enjoy it. Depends on how it's prepared. It depends on what they're eating. But the reality is if you want it, take it.
Without a doubt.
There's a lot of people that will not kill something I should say, unless they are able to eat it. And that I totally agree with.
Kudos to them. Yep. I mean, the kill it and grill it community is,
growing and large.
Yeah. I mean, I throw this out there all the time. Like Cameron Haynes, Meat Eater, Stephen Ranella.
Yep.
They have done a great job of setting the bar very high for the rest of us in the hunting community to eat what you hunt. If you're going to kill an animal, you should eat it. Now, if you hunt a coastal brown bear, even they don't eat those. I'm sure they don't because they're nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, if a bear lives on salmon through the late summer and the fall, it's nasty.
No good, yeah.
It's nasty.
Yeah.
But if you get a black bear, Saskatchewan,
berries, or they're dandelions or onions or whatever it may be that they're eating, acorns like you said earlier, they're fun. We just tenderized it, we breaded it, fried it in oil. It's awesome. It's like finger steaks.
It's how you take care of it in the field, though.
Yep.
When you get the bear down, you get it field dressed, you get it cared for, you get the hide off of it, you get the fat off of it.
Yep.
Got to get that fat off.
Gives that flavor that people quote unquote call gamey. It's all in the fat.
Well, not only that, bear fat, you fry it up in the house, it might run you out. I mean, you might have to sell your home afterward, or at least get a divorce. And you've got this thick hide, especially in the fall. When you get those fall bears that have a bunch of fat on them, I'm not saying we book a lot of those once again, but you get a bear in the fall that's got a bunch of fat on him. If you don't get that off, it's going to taint that meat. It's going to give it that bear gamey flavor that you were talking about.
Yep.
In the spring, you get a bear with that fat on it. Get that fat off. Get the fat off of that. A lot of people make like tallow and like lard and what. I mean, I've read lots of articles and guys use that fat. But if you're just after the bear meat, get that fat off. After you skin it, get the fat off of that bear. Make your steaks, make your burgers and stuff like that. Because honestly, it really is good meat if you shoot it in the right places.
Yep.
Get a mountain bear, get an interior bear that's never seen salmon. It's probably going to be delicious. I know a lot of people out there that compare it to like just a slightly gamier version of beef.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. The other thing I get asked a lot about is, especially on Canada hunts, even though the border's closed, is, how do I get a weapon across the border? Or how do I get the meat back or the hide in the skull? And the reality is it's very simple, provided that you're prepared, right? There's just a few forms you have to have, and just follow a few rules, and you don't have any legal issues in your current country. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Traveling with a gun is a lot easier than people think. Yeah. And no, you're not going to just land in Canada, get your bag, and walk in. You're going to have to go through it.
Customs.
15 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I mean, that's why we book people's flights and give them 2 hours when they land there.
Yep.
But you just go through the process. Be prepared, like you're saying.
There's a Canadian form you fill out in triplicate, have it ready to go. Yep. Right? It's that straightforward. You pay $25 if it still is for to bring your rifle in. Then you have a U.S. form.
4457, so you can bring it home. And if you want to bring your bear hide back with you, your bear skull, there's some paperwork you have to do.
You just declare it, and there's
the meat, same thing.
You don't pay anything. They come out and check, make sure that you have what you say you have is what you have, and they check your license and your tags, and you're on your way. It's really easy.
It truly is. Yeah. Bear hunting is something that has always been a big part of Steve's Outdoor Adventures, whether it be the television series or our bookings. And we've spent our entire careers, working with the outfitters and guides, our partners in the industry, our clients. It's probably one of the most successful portions of our business.
I would agree.
It just seems like 99.9% of our clients get their bears because we're very selective about when and where our clients go hunting. And it's an opportunity to get in the field in the spring at a time when you're not going to be, wishing you were elk hunting instead. You've probably got cabin fever by the time you get to May or June, and it's time to get in the field. And for me personally, it is a place that I can go, and I say a place because it doesn't matter where it is. If I'm bear hunting in the spring, it's someplace that I can go and get in the field, smell the dandelions, breathe fresh air, not be in the office for a week, and truly enjoy myself and get a chance to hunt an animal that is a lot warier than people think, and test my wits with them, climb the mountains, hike the shorelines, whatever it might be. But I'm not in the house. I'm not sitting around wishing it was fall hunting season. It's the time to get in the field.
Yeah.
I urge everyone to get out there and experience it.
I agree completely. And if you have any questions, give me or Steve a call and we'll answer them for you. But for me, it's like I said earlier in the podcast, it's that connection to nature and being a part of and witnessing their behavior as an animal. Like what I've seen out there, it's embedded in my brain forever. And it's just crazy how much I've seen with, fighting cubs, jumping out of trees, or crazy stuff. A bear coming up my tree and a cub being less than 12 inches from the back of my head. And, it's just what you experience it's just amazing. And I'll just always love bear hunting and can't wait to do the next one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of our podcast here. And, I want to make sure that we extend out to everybody. Once again, if you have any questions about bear hunting or any other big game hunting or fishing trips in North America or around the world, give our office a call. Travis and I are available to take your calls, answer your questions. You can reach us at 1-800-303-1304, or you can go to the website, steveshunts.com, and you can get a lot of information there. I'd also like to extend a big thank you out to our sponsors, Bergara Rifles, Burris Optics Company, Marathon Seat Covers, and then, of course, the companies that we own, Pendleton Ammunition, Far Wide Outdoors. For anybody out there that uses like Onyx and Basemap, one of our upcoming podcasts, we're going to be recording with our partner in Far Wide. He's the founder of Far Wide Outdoors. It's a free app for everybody. Far Wide's coming on strong, and we can hardly wait till everyone out there is using this free app. But Pendleton Ammunition, the Adventure Armory, these are brands that make it possible for us to have the podcast and the TV series.
Yep.
And we thank all of our partners in the industry. Until next time, get in the field, enjoy yourselves. It's almost spring. Go get a bear tag, or if you must, a turkey tag.
Stay in shape, work out.
Yeah. Don't add that COVID-30 like I did.
Yep. Stay in shape.
And we'll see you next time right here on the Steve's Outdoor Adventures podcast.
This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures is sponsored by the Far Wide app. Outdoor intelligence in the palm of your hand.